Fourth industrial revolution is sparking fears of massive job losses, but could AI actually improve our relationship with work? In the piece, quote, "You have 5,000 days how to navigate the end of work as we know it," researcher Brian Romilly, he says, quote, "We all define ourselves by what we do. The transformation of, quote, what we do will have less and less relationship to a living. And some even predict we won't need to work for a living anymore."
My prediction is that work will be optional. I mean, it'll be like playing sports or a video game or something like that.
Joining me now, the Big Money Show co-host Taylor Riggs, Slate Stone Wealth, their chief market strategist Kenny Polcari, and Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz. All right, folks, let's talk about this. The opportunities, there's everybody's worried about this. Every industrial revolution has had people who feared this stuff. And it sounds nice, I guess, when people say you don't have to work, but some of us, Taylor, want to work.
There is dignity in work. We want to work. We need to work. Work is good for communities. It's good for families. It's good for marriages. I love AI. I don't think it's going to displace all of us, and here's why. I use this classic example of the job we're doing right now. Being a talking head on TV, this job did not exist 100 years ago. But because of technological change, what we do now is a job. It exists. That's where I see AI. It's going to create new jobs that we right now cannot envision, but the technology will lead us to creating new and better things.
Kenny, my worry, though, is the gulf between these new jobs and the old jobs, right? Because there's not going to be a transition. You're not going to get a baton. Hey, you lost your old job, but go down the street and there's a new one waiting for you. Right. Like when they told truck drivers to learn how to code. Right. We see productivity numbers going through the roof. And every time I hear productivity going through the roof, it's a euphemism for me. We're doing more with less workers.
Right. Right. And look, I think she's right. I'm not nervous or afraid of where we're going to go because I think there'll be new opportunities. But to your point, it's going to be a transition. There's going to have to be an education process. You're right. People just can't leave what they're doing today and just start this new job tomorrow without an education, without understanding where this technology is going, how to use it, and how to interact with it. So I think there is going to be a transition period. And I think for some people that'll be uncomfortable for sure. But for the ones that, are more proactive, like anything, when you're proactive, I think you're going to find your place.
Yeah, but Jason, that means D.C. is going to weigh in on this, right? We already have one presidential candidate who ran on universal basic income and for a moment was leading in all the polls, right? And so it just feels like if we have this big gulf where people can't find their way, they can't find a job in this new world, what happens?
Well, they're scared. You look at a 20-year-old and they want to be productive, they want to have a family, they want to live the American dream. So what do they do? Like, what industry do they go into? We used to tell them to do this, do that, and so, yeah, Elon Musk saying, hey, you're going to have an assistant that's going to do everything. You're crazy if you become a doctor. That's sending some signals that creates a lot of confusion.
Okay.
I think there's opportunity in that because there are going to be the trades that are not going to be AI, right? AI is not going to replace the plumber or replace the electrician or the HVAC guy, right? Or the
so you're saying
mechanic.
if you're in medical school, switch your major to plumbing?
No,
but that's what scares people.
Yeah, well, it does scare people. But in the end, if you're sick, I don't think you still want to talk to somebody, right? You want to have a human being there. So I don't necessarily tell anybody you should stop going to medical school. But I think like everything else, AI is going to change the way doctors interact with people, change the way they diagnose diseases, which I think in the end will actually be a positive.
But Elon is telling us a couple of years from now, you don't need a surgeon.
Right. Right.
Who's going to do it? The AI is going to do it?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I'm comfortable with that.
I think it was maybe it was Isaac Asimov or Arthur C. Clarke, but this is 60 years ago, saying that this moment would come, right, and it would free human beings to pursue other things, like use a greater portion of our brains. So I can see where the futurists and the scientists feel that way. But back to you, Taylor, and to Jason's point, right now, underemployment for young grads is at 42%. Right. Already it's having a deleterious impact.
But is that an AI problem or a college relevance problem? So I think we could talk about how college, to stay relevant, needs to update the curriculum, needs to be, I've already thought for my daughter who's 2, what does this look like in 16, 15 years? Do we need to go to college? And if so, what does the college curriculum look like so that when she graduates on the other side of that, she's well prepared? Is it keeping up with coding? Is it learning how to operate robotics with AI? Is it learning how to interact with a hologram doctor and helping to better read an X-ray exam with an agent of AI, right? And so it makes sure that when we graduate, and the young kid unemployment comes into this, that they are well prepared for that world, regardless of what that world looks like. How do we teach critical thinking skills and how to operate with all this new technology so that they're prepared?
So let me pick up on, you mentioned your daughter. Jason, I want to go to this, right? The loneliness crisis among young people and people finding more kinship or friendship with AI, particularly young folks. No, I mean, this is a real thing. This is a real thing, and it's having major impacts already on society.
I've had this conversation with my friend Grok, and we've talked this thing through. I mean, yes, and it's very real. There are a lot of lonely people out there, and it's going to change everything between relationships.
So then should Washington, D.C. intervene at some point?
There's got to be some guardrails. I'm afraid that Congress is inept. You got about 3 or 4 members who even understand this, so there's got to be some guardrail.
Yeah, but how do you put up guardrails against some young person having a conversation or a relationship with Grok or ChatGPT or Claude?
But there are deep fakes, and there are things that are, there's bullying, there's all kinds of these things.
But we did find that the hands-off approach to social media, for instance, caught us off guard because the people who programmed the algorithms didn't have the same opinions as others. I mean, there should be something to protect our children, no?
Yes, 100% there should be. I'm just trying to figure out what that guardrail is going to look like. How are you going to stop some young kid from having a conversation with Grok or ChatGPT about their personal life, about intimate issues, about whatever? I don't know how you put those guardrails up. Look, I got to make you laugh. I use ChatGPT, right, to help me kind of clarify thoughts and all that stuff. But it's funny because in the morning I'll say, "Good morning, Chat. How are you?" And it responds to me.
Yeah.
Right? I slept well. How are you? Getting ready? Have your coffee? That's how it responds to me. And I laugh because I think, okay, this is ridiculous.
Well, I just have 2 words, I think. HAL, Space Odyssey. That's all I'm saying. 2000. That's all I got to say. Taylor, Kenny, Jason, thank you very much. Appreciate it.